Alright, welcome back to a fantastic video by Firestarter Graphics and Engineering. Today we're going to actually do something kind of cool. We're going to use Excel to solve a computational fluid dynamics problem. Now, what is computational fluid dynamics? It's basically using computers to solve some fluid dynamic problems. Sometimes fluid dynamics can be very complicated and you have a bunch of unknowns. So you use something like MATLAB or Excel to solve for those unknowns to at least get you some modeled data to compare it to some actual data. So that's what we're going to do with drag force. Now you'll notice I have the equations up here. We'll discuss every equation just for review. So drag force is equal to the coefficient of drag times the cross-sectional area times the velocity squared of the fluid that it's passing through. In our case today it will be air. That'll be passing over the object, I should say, and its density, and that's all divided by 2. Now this coefficient of drag, a lot of people think it's a constant. Like, oh, I looked up in a table and, it said for this shape use this coefficient of drag. It is not, excuse me, a constant. It's actually an average value that is calculated through hundreds and hundreds of tests in a wind tunnel. So it is definitely not a constant. Now, we don't have a wind tunnel, so what are we actually doing today? You'll see this other equation, FRR. That is friction of rolling force. So yes, we're going to be finding the coefficient of drag and drag force of a car as it accelerates to 45 miles per hour, put in neutral, and then coasts for about a minute and a half. Actually, it's a minute and 10 seconds, so 70 seconds. So this is the friction of rolling force because we have to take into account tires on the asphalt. So the total force would be our drag force plus our friction rolling force. Newton's second law, force is equal to mass times acceleration. So total force is equal to mass times acceleration. This yields acceleration is equal to the total force over the mass. And you can see right here some basic algebra to figure out what our actual acceleration would be. Next, this equation right here is actually pretty important. The change of velocity is equal to acceleration times the change of time. So we know acceleration is just the change of velocity over the change of time. This is important because we have, as our vehicle coasts over that 70 seconds and we take measurements every 5 seconds, the velocity is changing with respect to a change in time. Simple concepts, but sometimes it can get really confusing in physics when you have to do a lot of back substitutions and trying to figure everything out. Okay, so what we actually did, let's start way at the beginning. Okay, so you're going to kind of get some spoilers here, seeing some of the graphs and stuff of what we're trying to do. Do I have a before solving? I don't. I might have to change some values. Okay, so the purpose of this exercise is to be able to find the coefficient of drag and the coefficient of rolling friction. Now remember, the coefficient of drag is dependent upon, in our equation, the force of drag, or I should say the force of drag. Whoops, went too far. Force of drag has this in it. Well, if you actually solve for the coefficient of drag, you'll see that velocity squared has the highest impact on the entire situation because the cross-sectional area is not changing, nor is the density, and nor is the drag force. But the drag force will increase if you increase your velocity. So this has a lot to do with this number. That is why it's an average and not a constant. Okay, so you probably hear my cats. It's okay, I'm at the home studio. Probably hear some music in the background. That's okay. Just enjoy it. Anyway, so here is trial 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Accelerated the car to 45 miles per hour, and then we let it coast in neutral for 70 seconds, and every 5 seconds I took a reading. Okay, found the velocity average, and then I converted it to meters per second because I do not like working in the standard measurements, the empirical measurements, with physics. I like working strictly in metric. Okay, so now, if I look at this chart, let's click it. I'm taking the actual velocity, okay? and I'm plotting it. And here is the trend line. Shows that it's a cubic function, but let's do this. Let's go to format trend line. Let's bump it up to 4. Let's close that, and you'll see that the line right here, oh whoops, it didn't save it. Haha. Okay, it did move, but we just need to display the equation. We need to get rid of the other one. So let's close this. You can see that the trend line now, instead of being at the bottom of this dot at the end, it's in the middle. So can I update? Let's just do this. Hit delete. Excuse me. Format trend line. Uncheck. Redisplay it. Display R squared value. R squared is not really important, but depending on numerical methods, I think R squared was how close you were to your accuracy of an error, and we're pretty close to 1, which is good. Don't quote me on that. It's been a while since I had numerical methods. Anyway, okay, let's move our equation down. So this is the 4th order equation for this trend line. This is going to be important. Okay, so let's move on to actually solving. So we need a coefficient of drag, but in order to get that, we need a drag force. We don't have a drag force, so we're trying to find drag force. In order to find drag force, you need the coefficient of drag. Do you see how it's back and forth, back and forth, back and forth? So we have to look at our equation and say, okay, what do we have? Well, I've got the friction rolling force, but I need coefficient of rolling force. I have the force total. I have the acceleration, which is okay. I have acceleration, so this is good because I also have acceleration here. So why don't I say that the change of velocity over the change of time is equal to the total force over the mass? So that's where we're going to start. So over here we have our time in seconds. Our actual velocity. This just right here, meters per second, is nothing but, sorry, it's the average of the actual. It's the same data as this. So now the model. Okay, so if I click, let's read this little note. It says the velocity is equal to this, which gives a change in velocity. So cell E27 multiplied by 5, this is equal to 1.33. So the new velocity is the previous minus this 1.33 meters per second. So that's important. So how did I get that? Let's see if I can find. Okay, so we're taking the previous, okay, finding the force, which is, I'm going to click in here so it highlights things. So blue is our initial guess of K20. We have to have, in order for Excel to solve and find the unknowns, it has to have an initial guess. A lot of numerical methods require this guess. The Newton-Raphson method does, Newton's method of finding true zero does, the Runge-Kutta, they all require some sort of initial guess, and then it does iteration after iteration after iteration to find the actual value. So we're taking our initial guess. This is just the force total, the drag force plus the friction of rolling force. So you can see our drag force equation here. Coefficient of drag, this is going to be times mass times it by the half, or which is division by 2, cross-sectional area. C27. What is C27 squared? Oh, velocity. Okay, taking our velocity and squaring it, and then we're adding the friction rolling force, which is our initial guess here, times the mass times the gravity. Okay, that's going to give us our total force at that moment on this car with an initial guess for these. So originally, let's put in my original guesses here. I did 0.6 and 0.1. Okay, now you'll see how the data really changed. So Excel was using these values, and I put found the force total because I needed something to work off of. Remember, these are just guesses, just needed a number to work off of. So then acceleration was just the change of velocity over the change of time. So, change of velocity, which is your d27, which was our new, let's see, d27 right here, which was, sorry, acceleration. I gotta remember how I did this. Whoops, sorry. Acceleration, d27, which was your force, e22, which is my mass. Okay. Alright. So I just used Newton's second law on this one to find my actual acceleration. And that's what calculated this one. Now, if we go to the V model, the velocity is where you're going to take your previous and subtract your value of acceleration times time, a change in time. And that will give us our new value of velocity. So you just do this over and over and over, copy paste. It's actually really easy. Just grab this and just drag it down. So it solves for everything. Now, r squared. Why do we have this column? The r is extremely important because that is the distance, if you want to look at it as a distance, between the orange line, the model data, and the actual data. It's the how close it is to zero. We want r to be as close to zero as possible, which means the orange line would fit on top of the blue line. So you take r squared, that way it gets rid of all negatives, and then we start into the easiest part of everything. So now if we've done that, you can see how it's the same shape of graph, which should be expected because we're dealing with equations that stay very linear and constant all the way through. But there's definitely error. So now our goal is to minimize that error by minimizing the error by minimizing the value of CD and CR. So you're going to click on error, you're going to hit solver. I lied. That's the wrong one. You need to go to data and then solver. And it's going to say minimize this one by changing variable cells K20 and K21, which is our CD and CRR. And if I hit solve, it says it found an answer, hit OK. And there you go. It has now found our coefficient of drag and our coefficient of rolling force, and you can see how it matches up. So really, really, really cool. So I'm just going to go, I guess I'm not going to go back one. Okay, I'll just save it. Now, if we look at our solved fourth order equation, oh look, here's our r squared value, 0.9997. Huh. Now let's look at our squared equation of the orange. Okay. It is almost the same as the blue one, which is what we want. That's good, obviously. So you can just see how right here there's just a little bit of error. We could increase the power, but then it stops changing after a fourth order. So this is as best as we're going to get. But that's pretty good. So now this is based on my car. Now the trick is to do it for your car. And all you'd have to do is change the this should not be density of car. This should be density of air. Wow. Sometimes you just get in a hurry, you know what I'm saying? Okay. Density of air will change depending on your elevation where you're at. Gravity should stay constant, even though it can change very little, but it does. Then the mass of your car will change and the frontal area will change. You can use this sheet and come up with some really, really cool examples. You can find the coefficient of drag of a falling rocket, a rock. You might need to use a video camera to determine certain things, but it can be done. Anyways, hope you enjoyed, and thank you for watching.